Call this meeting to order. Got a lot of papers before us today. Try to get through this in a very effective order. Clerk, would you do the honor chamber evaluation plan, the announcements?
Upon activation of the emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use the exits to the left, right, or front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside of the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, security will direct everyone down 9th Street to the assembly area located inside the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period or public hearings are generally allowed 3 minutes to speak. Persons appearing before the committee are not allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use language of a personal nature which assaults or demeans any person, including comments directed at public officials or staff members that are not related to their official duties, or address the question staff members directly. All questions are to be directed to the committee chair. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in speakers forfeiting any remaining time and further disciplinary action as necessary, which can include barring from attendance at future meetings of the committee for a period of 6 months.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have anyone that have signed up for the public comment period to address the committee for items that are not on the agenda?
We had no one that signed up prior to the 10 a.m. deadline to speak virtually. But do we have anyone here present in the chamber that would like to provide comment for items not on today's agenda? Stating none, the public comment period is now closed.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so we have 7 papers that are related. So we're going to take those papers up front, Madam Clerk.
Did you want to proceed with the approval of the minutes?
I'm sorry. Do we actually have, so approval of the minutes, Madam Clerk? I'm
Yes.
sorry, thank you.
The minutes to be approved are from the October 15th, 2025 Finance and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting. If there are no amendments or corrections, then those meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll take the appointments to boards and commissions next.
Good afternoon, Chair Robertson, Vice Chair Jones, Pamela Nichols, Council Management Analyst. The vacancy report before you this afternoon captures current and projected vacancies through May of this year. And getting right into the report for the Economic Development Authority, Board of Directors, we have 1 vacancy for a resident of the city who is a certified public accountant. And we have a reappointment application from Jerron Cook. Wonderful. And then moving down to the next criteria, resident of the city who is a member of the banking, lending, or financial services community. Previously, the committee did recommend Kenneth Smither, but we do have applications from Cynthia Cobbs, Robert Winfield Hines, and Alexis Houlihan. So there's 1 vacancy and 4 applications.
So at the last meeting, there was an interest as it relates to making sure that we have some roll off at the time for the board. And we wanted to make sure that this appointment filled the vacancy that was necessary. Are you familiar with that?
So with this appointment for this criteria is actually for an individual who has termed out. So, and again, in October, this committee recommended Kenny Smither. And then we had for the resident of the city who is a member of the residential, commercial, or mixed-use development. Then Nathan Hughes submitted a reappointment application.
Righty. Okay, so my understanding is the recommendation is for Kenneth Smithers to be appointed. Let's come back to that. I have to get some information corrected, Ms. Nichols.
Okay, all righty. And then for the local finance board for other post-employment benefits, for the director of the Department of Finance, of course, we have the application from Letitia Shelton. And then moving on to the Participatory Budgeting Steering Commission, and I know that there was some reorganization. We have been in contact with the staff members who are comfortable with us moving forward if this committee is comfortable with making recommendations.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating that, please?
Okay, yes. So for participatory budget and steering commission, I have been in contact with the staff and Mr. Slack concerning appointments to the commission. And he has been in contact with city administration, of course, and to discuss moving forward. But they are comfortable at this point with this committee making recommendations for reappointments as well as initial appointments. So you will see for a city resident who resides in the council district located north of the James River, we have a reappointment application from Abigail Delaney. And then also based on their recommendation, they would like to recommend that this committee would consider there are 2 vacancies and would also consider Peter Berry for the second persons to be appointed to that vacancy. So it would be Abigail Delaney and Peter Berry.
Okay.
And then also for the committee's consideration are 2 vacancies for non-voting alternate members. And the recommendation for those would be Lacey Hancher and Jamal Mitchell, if that is the will of this committee. So again, they will serve as 2 alternate members.
Right. Okay. We're comfortable with the recommendation of those 4.
Okay, and then Ms. Peoples, we have for resident of public housing. She previously served on the board and they are excited that she has shown interest to then rejoin that commission.
For which board? The Regional Tourism Board?
Now, for the finishing out the participatory budgeting steering commission, Ms.
Mhm.
Juanisha Peoples.
Oh, okay.
And then moving down to the Richmond Region Tourism Board. Again, these applications were continued, and we have an application from Kimberly Love Lindsay and Forrest Spratt.
So we will go with the 5 recommendations for the participatory budgeting steering committee that's recommended, and for Lindsley for the Regional Tourism Board.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, for the Richmond Retirement System, 1 vacancy and 1 reappointment application from Regina Elbert.
Okay? And we'll make a reappointment for that.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward the board recommendations as stated to council. Vice Chair Jones,
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
And then going back to the EDA, are we going to?
Could, we've had some discussion with Ms. Rogers with the EDA. Ms. Rogers, I appreciated the conversation that you had, and we had, was very interested in an appointment. Was there a recommendation that came from there that
Could you
can
come
you
up
say?
here?
Good
Sorry,
afternoon.
I should have recalled, but I haven't, so.
That's quite all right. So Angie Rogers, Director for the Department of Economic Development, also Executive Director for the EDA. So the recommendation from the department is that we do the reappointments for Mr. Hughes and Mr. Crooks, and we have a request to hold on all other appointments. We'd like an opportunity to do a little bit of a process through the EDA, interview the candidates, and sort of be able to substantively make recommendations about whether they are a good fit for the board seats that are available. The other thing that we'd like time to do is to move a recommendation with the EDA board to establish a community committee, advisory committee, essentially, which could serve as a board development tool for us, for some of these folks who may be interested in the board, but maybe the right seat isn't open for them right now. But also give us a chance to have that additional input and get to know these applicants better.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank
much. So with that, the two recommendations is Ms. Crook and Huge that serves from the resident of the city, right?
And to continue the other vacancy
Right,
to our next quarter.
right.
Okay, wonderful.
That's right. Madam Clerk, do we need to vote on those?
Yes, do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. The committee is voting on the board recommendations as stated to forward to council. Vice Chair Jones,
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's see if I can move to the agenda. Agenda item number 1.
Item 1, ordinance. Did you still want to proceed with 1 through 7 being in the block?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you. Item 1, ordinance 2026-008, to authorize the acceptance of $619,950 from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority to amend the FY 25-26 special fund budget to establish Operation Stop Special Funds within the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services and appropriate such funds for implementing the authority's specifically targeted overdose prevention program to combat the opioid crisis. Item 2, ordinance 2026-010, to execute an Atlantic Outreach Grant contract between the city and Atlantic Outreach Group for the purpose of providing bid fee scholarships for clients with opioid use disorder and their recovery residences. Item 3, ordinance 2026-011, to execute a Child Savers Grant contract between the city and Child Savers Memorial Child Guidance Clinic for the purpose of providing trauma-informed clinical counseling services to youth whose caregiver or family member has experienced overdose in the city. Item 4, ordinance 2026-012, to execute a Daily Planet grant contract between the city and the Daily Planet, Inc. for the purpose of providing bed fee scholarships and referrals for clients with opioid use disorder and accredited recovery residents. Item 5, ordinance 2026-013, to execute a Daily Planet Health Services grant contract between the city and Daily Planet, Inc. for the purpose of developing and presenting prevention and education services to law enforcement and policymakers addressing the opioid crisis in the city. Item 6, ordinance 2026-014, to execute a Health Brigade grant contract between the city and Health Brigade for the purpose of supporting harm reduction and outreach efforts for residents suffering from opioid use disorder in the city. And item 7, ordinance 2026-015, to execute a Richmond Behavioral 2026-015, to execute a Richmond Behavioral Health Foundation grant contract between the city and Richmond Behavioral Health Foundation for the purpose of supporting quarterly community events and harm reduction supplies in designated safe zones. Those papers are before the committee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll have a presentation from the administration on these 7 papers, and then we'll have a public hearing.
Good afternoon, Chair Robertson and Vice Chair Jones. I'm Anna Jones, opioid response strategist with our Office of Opioid and Substance Use Response. To give a brief background on the ordinances that you just heard presented, the City of Richmond was awarded roughly $620,000 through Operation Stop, a targeted grant initiative from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority. In response to this opportunity, our team partnered with community organizations to develop a comprehensive approach addressing overdose-related harms across Richmond's most impacted communities. In order to engage the most effective immediate response, we prioritize organizations with deep roots in the most impacted communities and a long history of doing the work. To give a brief overview of the project as a whole, in order to meet immediate needs on the ground, we have Health Brigade implementing a multifaceted outreach campaign to provide harm reduction materials, education, and connection to services for community members at greatest risk of overdose. Additionally, Richmond Behavioral Health Foundation will be working with Trauma Healing Response Network to implement naloxone dispensers in community safe zones to increase public access to naloxone, which we all know is a life-saving medication, to reverse overdose. Additionally, they'll hold quarterly community education events centering overdose prevention, harm reduction, opioid use disorder, and related topics. These connections will act as a natural referral process to our partners providing bed fee scholarships. Atlantic Outreach Group and Daily Planet will help remove financial barriers to recovery housing for those that are ready to seek those services. Collectively, they'll fund at least 3,000 nights of recovery housing for Richmond residents. Child Savers will be addressing the impact of overdose on the family. So they'll be providing trauma-informed counseling for young folks who have a caregiver or someone in the home who's experienced an overdose in hopes of interrupting that cycle of trauma and making a positive impact on the future. Daily Planet, as another portion of this grant, will also be providing education to law enforcement, policymakers, and the general public. This initiative allows us to kind of broaden the impact of this grant, right, and bring in our community partners across the continuum of care to kind of increase impact overall. We also have VCU's Wright Center for Clinical and Translational Research, providing program evaluation to measure impact, ensure effectiveness, and provide recommendations for sustained growth. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll also add as a note, we have all of our community partners joining virtually and a couple of them from Daily Planet joining in person today too. So they're happy to speak to specific organizational questions if I'm not able to answer them.
Thank you. We'll come back if we have questions, but we'll have a public hearing now on all 7 papers.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of items 1 through 7? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of items 1 through 7? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
I got one question. How you doing, Ms. Jones? Thank you. A quick question with the, you said the one that has the designated safe zones, and I'm not sure if I asked this already. Do we know where these safe zones are?
Yes, Trauma Healing Response Network has dedicated safe zones that are located throughout the city. And if you were to overlay them with our map of fatal and non-fatal overdoses, they would be in the exact right areas to make that impact. They are here virtually, so if you'd like for them to speak to the exact addresses of those, they can certainly do that.
Or would it be possible, just for the sake of time, and we have so many papers, if you could get us that list? Because I think what I'm ultimately attempting to
Absolutely.
establish is where we get to see what's happening across the city.
Yeah.
And then for areas that have higher need or whatever, I know we're trying to address a lot of options, but I think it would be helpful if we could actually see what areas, because a lot of times we just make it broad and it might be one area is receiving more and than the other. And I want to always make sure that we're addressing the needs, specifically in the higher needed areas. So if you could just get us a list, that could be.
I most certainly can. I'm also happy to share with you, we have some interesting data coming in from the harm reduction vending machines. It will show you zip codes that are most often put in too, that kind of add a different layer of data to that as well.
Yeah,
So,
if you could just get that to the committee, that'd be super helpful. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Motion.
Motion to approve, to forward the council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 1, ordinance 2026-008, item 2, ordinance 2026-010, item 3, ordinance 2026-011, item 4, ordinance 2026-012, item 5, ordinance 2026-013, item 6, ordinance 2026-014, and item 7, ordinance 2026-015 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We move to agenda item 8.
Item 8, ordinance 2026-016, to execute a Coliseum parking license agreement between the city as licensor and Virginia Commonwealth University as licensee for the purpose of leasing 200 parking spaces at the city-owned parking facility located at 501 North 7th Street. That paper is before the committee.
Hear from the administration that would like to speak to this paper.
Good afternoon, Lynn Lancaster, Department of General Services. The purpose of this paper is to lease 200 parking spaces to a city-owned parking facility located at 501 North 7th Street, which is better known as the Coliseum Garage, to VCU. VCU's previous license agreement was terminated when city employees were moved to the Coliseum due to the construction of the GRTC Transfer Center. Right now, we're backfilling those 200 spaces we lost when DSS moved to the ORTD building. Any questions? Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Hearing on this paper, please.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 8? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of item 8? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to forward the council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 8, ordinance 2026-016 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, Madam Clerk.
Item 9, ordinance 2026-017, to amend city code concerning the disposition of calculated general fund surplus and reporting to require that 10% of each year's surplus go to a special purpose reserve to support the Richmond Retirement System Total Retirement Fund to fund bonuses for retired members of the Richmond Retirement System, and city code concerning the special purpose reserves to establish a special purpose reserve fund. That paper is before the committee.
May it please the committee, R.J. Warren, Council Chief of Staff. This Councilwoman Trammell is the lead patron of this ordinance, and recently, Ms. Robertson, you've requested to be added as a co-patron as well on this item. This has been, Ms. Trammell wrote this ordinance as a result of the recent action by council on the city surplus, where council per current city code has the authority to designate how to use 10% of the special purpose reserves of the surplus to go towards services that they deem appropriate. Councilwoman Trammell believed that in the absence of of recipients of the Richmond retirement system not having a COLA for several years, that the 10% that council's discretion should instead be used as a direct one-time payment to retirees of the Richmond retirement system. This is not a COLA. That it would not be that. It would be a one-time payment to them. In this, if there was enough surplus at the end of the year. And I'll be available for any questions you may have.
Mr. Warren, I have a quick question. Sorry. So thank you. Are you indicating that whatever surplus council gets 10%, does this paper indicate that the entire 10% go to this, so no split any?
That is correct. That's right. So it would not be, divvied up or anything like that. It would go, all 10% would go directly to the retirees.
Okay, and then I would wonder, how would we plan to maintain that if the goal is freezing taxes? What's the plan for that?
So depending on, if the surplus every year goes up, there would be a higher amount for that 10% to go to. If the surplus would go down, it would be a smaller one-time payment.
Thank you.
So let me ask a follow-up question, and then we'll have a public hearing as well. We usually do the questions afterwards. Do we know how many employees are in this group of not receiving COLA?
The number has been shared with me, but I don't have it off the top
Okay.
of my head. I can get you that
Because it'd
today.
be interesting to know, based on the number, I would assume a bonus would be a flat bonus.
Correct.
That, what are we talking about as far as what that average bonus would be? Would be interesting to know, at least by the time it gets back to council.
100%. I can get you that.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, let's have a hearing on this paper as well.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of item 9? Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 9? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to forward to council for approval.
I'll second that, and I requested my name be added as a co-patron to the paper. Madam Clerk, call a question.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 9, ordinance 2026-017, to council with a recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye,
That motion has been approved.
thank you. Agenda item number 10.
Item 10, Resolution 2026-R004, to request that the mayor propose an annual budget for the FY 26-27 that recommends $1.1 million in funding to increase wages and benefits for contracted janitorial workers and pursue an amendment of the city's janitorial service contract during the FY 26-27 to add a requirement that the city's janitorial services contractor pay its employees at least the city's minimum wage, and to request that the CAO pursue an amendment of the city janitorial service contract beginning July 1st, 2026. That paper is before the committee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll have a public hearing on this paper.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 10? Opposition of item 10. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 10? Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Priscilla Peebles, and I'm here this afternoon in representing myself and the SEIU 32BJ. I'm here to share a little of my story to urge you to adopt the resolution number 2026-R004. This resolution would ensure that city contracted janitorial workers like myself um, earn a living wage that allows us to just not just to survive, but to be able to thrive. I live in Richmond and I have worked as a janitor, cleaning the city buildings, and I am a countless worker who was just a medical emergency away from devastation, financial devastation. In 2024, I was out of work for a year after having a double knee replacement. As a full-time janitor with no benefits, I had nothing to fall back on. Um, and I had no income, no safety. Couldn't pay my bills. I had to rely on the community and programs to get through. I have since returned back to work, same situation. Um, I I struggle to pay my bills and to pay my rent on time, but paycheck to paycheck. As a 68-year-old, I don't know when I'll be able to stop working. Not until my body gives out, I guess. Um, for someone who works every day cleaning the city buildings to make sure that they are up to par, I'm not asking for much. I'm asking for a living wage, one that allows me to pay my rent on time and focus on my health and to live with dignity. This is why I'm here today to speak for those of us who are living financially uncertain and to urge you to do the right thing. Thank you for listening.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in support of item 10? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 10, resolution 2026 R004 to council with a recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones,
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
That motion has
Um,
been approved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, I just want to add for the benefit of this paper, frequently when administration hasn't said anything as it relates to the impact of this that I'm aware of, but we want to make sure that we ask administration for an implementation strategy as to how this will be carried out, because what we've found to be true in some other cases is that when there's a new initiative that's put in place and there's a new financing process that has to be put in place to make this happen, without having standard operating procedures as to how you're going to implement it, it may delay this for quite some time if council approve it. This is just moving from the committee. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. Renee Almaraz, Director of Procurement Services for the city. We would like a continuance for about 30 days to be able to discuss this further with the contractor, because I would enter into a modification on that agreement, and it's a bilateral modification. So they would have to sign it, then I would sign it, and we can't just unilaterally increase the wages on a contract. So, it would give us time to discuss with the contractor, make sure they're good with it, firm up numbers, because I think the numbers that we have in here, probably about 4 or 5 months old, just to make sure everything's tight. And then, see where the contractor stands. Want to make sure that we're good with moving forward with it, and they are good with moving forward with it as well.
Are you saying you are good moving forward with it, but there's logistics that needs to be worked out?
I'm saying that I want to be sure that we speak with the contractor about a wage increase on their contract to make sure that they're in alignment with the wage increase, and they don't bring up anything else, because once you open up a contract for negotiation, it's not typically one item. It could be other items that they would like to bring up as well. So the hope is that this would run smoothly down the road as we modify the contract. It's up for renewal also in April, and then it's got 2 successive annual renewals after that. So this goes through 2028. Our, you know, our hope is to make sure that we just have a clean path to make this happen. But we got to have some conversations with the contractor.
Clerk, when was this paper introduced?
At the last council meeting in January 12th.
Well, and you're asking for a 30-day continuance?
Just 30 days to have some discussions with the contract to make sure we're in alignment on this change. Yes.
Is the 30 days going to, if council, so we're looking at budget being introduced in March.
Mhm.
30 days will probably put us at a place of not being able to meet that passing of this ordinance as it relates to the impact on the budget or resolution.
So I'm really trying to focus on the logistics of getting, the contract modified. That's, this assumes everything flows forward, everything moves forward, the budget's approved, this is approved in the budget. But I don't want to commit to it without knowing that the contractor is good with the plans that we have for changing the contract. Yep, go
Mr.
ahead.
Warren?
Yes, just talk procedure. Let you know what y'all's options are. You all just recommended the thing go forward with approval. So what you can do now is going to the formal council meeting on Monday, and you could continue it there if you decide to, 30 days or to 2 weeks to the next council meeting. You can continue it there, or you could have the full body refer it back to this committee next month if you wanted to. After you maybe talk some more, or you can someone can make a motion to reconsider the motion you just approved to instead continue it within committee. So those are your 3 options right there.
All right, so then I think we want to move this paper forward with a recommendation for approval to the council with the understanding that the administration needs to come back with an implementation strategy within 30 days back to this committee. Oh, okay. Thank you. All righty. Madam Clerk, let's do 11.
We did have a request to continue item 11, ordinance 2025-282 to the March finance meeting.
Motion.
Motion, so moved.
Motion to continue, second.
The committee is voting on the motion to continue item 11, ordinance 2025-282 to the March 18th, 2026 Finance and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robertson.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you. Agenda item 12, Madam Clerk.
Item 12, ordinance 2025-283 to amend city code concerning the deadline for submission of budget to council and to change the deadline for submission from March 27th to March 11th. That paper is for the committee.
Any public hearing?
Should have sat down right
Okay,
here. I
all
apologize. Based on the Budget Review Task Force recommendations and the agreement between council and city administration, this is just officially moving the budget submission up to March 11th. That is when the mayor will now have this special meeting with you all to submit his proposed budget. March 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a public hearing, Madam Clerk.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 12? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 12? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Approve.
Motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 12, ordinance 2025-283 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robertson. That motion has been approved.
13, Madam Clerk.
Item 13, ordinance 2025-286 to accept funds of $127,032 from the Commonwealth's Department Opportunity Fund and to amend the FY 25-26 special fund budget by creating a new special fund for the Department of Economic Development entitled PPD Special Fund and to appropriate the increase to the FY 26 special fund budget for the purpose of providing PPD Development LP with incentives to establish a bioanalytics laboratory facility at 737 North 5th Street. That paper is before the committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Councilmember Jones. My name is Katie McConnell. I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Economic Development. My voice is going in and out, so don't mind me. In 2022, the state, in partnership with the city, announced that PPD, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Thermo Fisher, would be opening a new bioanalytic laboratory. The project completed its performance period with a state agreement, creating 44 jobs and investing over $5 million in the facility. Per the cooperation agreement between the state, the city, the Economic Development Authority, and the company earned $127,032 in Commonwealth Opportunity Grant funds. This ordinance allows the city to accept the funds from the state and transfer it to the company through the Economic Development Authority. Be happy to answer any questions.
Have a public hearing, Madam Clerk.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 13? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 13? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 13, ordinance 2025-286 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robertson. That motion has been approved.
Next, number 14, Madam Clerk.
Item 14, ordinance 2026-007 to accept funds of $150,000 from the Commonwealth of Virginia and to amend the FY 26 special fund budget by creating a new special fund for the Department of Economic Development entitled Capital Access Special Fund for the purpose of providing funding to the Metropolitan Business League and Bridging Virginia for the Capital Access Program. That paper is before the committee.
Good afternoon again. Katie McConnell, Deputy Director of the Department of Economic Development. Through the leadership of Delegate Mike Jones, in May 2025, the General Assembly approved $150,000 in its biannual budget for the Capital Access Program, which supports small businesses and is run by the Metropolitan Business League and Bridging Virginia. This ordinance allows the city to accept those funds and transfer them to the organizations to be used for its intended purpose. Floyd Miller, President and CEO of Bridging Virginia, and Leah Freemow, President and CEO, Floyd Miller, President and CEO of Metropolitan Business League, sorry, Floyd, and Leah Freemow, President and CEO of Bridging Virginia, are in attendance to answer any questions that you all may have.
Mr. Miller, do you want to have a word on this paper? Do you? Would you like to speak to this paper?
Thank you, Madam
Couldn't
Chair.
resist it. Couldn't resist.
Floyd Miller with the Metropolitan Business League. Just want to say that this is a model program, and we've been in existence for over 4 years now, providing access to capital for small businesses. It's an incredible partnership with Bridging Virginia, and I'll turn it over to Leah to talk more about the program.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for seeing us today. The partnership that Floyd is talking about and what the delegate is funding through the state appropriation is going to help us continue to provide capital to our small business community here in Richmond. Since 2022, our two organizations have collectively gotten $2.5 million into the hands of small businesses in cheap, affordable loan capital and grants. That looked like the water recovery grant, some business support grants during the height of COVID, and then the micro lending that both of our organizations do. Collectively, we've touched over 350 businesses and have funded 45 businesses with lending capital, let alone the grant recipients through the city funded programs too. So thank you for considering.
Could you please state your name and title for the record?
Oh, yeah, Leah Freemale, President and CEO of Bridging Virginia.
Thank you.
Hey, Madam Clerk, we'll have a public hearing on this paper, please.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 14? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of item 14? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Madam Clerk, motion to forward to council for approval.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 14, ordinance 2026-007, to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
15. Clerk.
Item 15, ordinance 2026-009, to accept $2.7 million from the Federal Railroad Administration, to accept $540,800 from the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, and to amend the FY26 special fund budget by creating a new special fund called DPW called the Railroad Crossing Elimination RCE Broad Rock Grade Separation Special Fund, and to appropriate the increase to the FY26 special fund budget by increasing estimated revenues by the total amount of $3.2 million to provide funding for the feasibility analyst environmental clearance and preliminary engineering of a grade separation project on Broad Rock Boulevard. That paper is before the committee.
Good afternoon, Chair Robertson, Vice Chair Jones, Diana Moore Clark here, Department of Public Works, Deputy Director. The City of Richmond's goal is to conduct the necessary planning and analysis required to determine potential solutions for an at-grade crossing at Broad Rock. A railroad crossing elimination is the process of removing the physical intersection where a road or a sidewalk and a train track meet at the same level. In plain words, again, it means changing the road or the tracks so they no longer cross. This is done through building a bridge or a tunnel so that the road goes over or under the tracks. This study these dollars will allow for the activities to include, again, the feasibility study, the National Environmental Protection Act, or NEPA, clearance, and preliminary engineering. It's set to have a duration of 24 months. Of the dollars, the $3.2 million being allocated through the Federal Railroad Administration and the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, the city is responsible for $135,200, and they've been included in the FY26 DPW special fund budget.
Madam Clerk, can we have a public hearing on this paper, please?
Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 15? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of item 15? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Councilwoman Jones.
Forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 15, ordinance 2026-009 to council with a recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved. Item 16, ordinance 2025-284 to execute a first amendment to Coliseum Parcel Redevelopment Corporation Agreement between the city, Virginia, and the EDA for the purpose of facilitating the development of a mixed-use city center. Item 17, ordinance 2025-285 to execute a cooperation agreement between the city and the EDA for the purpose of facilitating the redevelopment of city-owned property located at 500 North 10th Street. Those papers are before the committee.
Good afternoon again. Katie's losing her voice and I'm sniffling. Our office is a mess. So again, Angie Rogers, Director for the Department of Economic Development, here to give a joint presentation on two matters that are before you, but all concerning the city center development pipeline. The presentation is going to get pulled up in just a second. Go. So, can move to the, do I have the? Here we go. Okay. So, the two ordinances, that are before you, for us are really key steps in advancing the development that is planned for city center development that's long been planned for city center. I'll spend some time talking to you. There we go. I'll spend some time talking about the two major pieces that are moving forward, but also at the end, try to give you a broad picture of the movement that we are seeing in city center right now. So I'll spend some time talking about the Coliseum, and we are focused on three pieces for the next year. Demolition of the existing Coliseum structure, and then kicking off on what we'll call a first phase of vertical development, which is a convention center, hotel, and associated parking. And I'll also focus on the new GRTC transit hub. And I just want to acknowledge that here today also is Dorana Clark from DPW, that they, along with GRTC, are our partners on the GRTC hub. And while the EDA will focus on the vertical development and sort of getting the mix of uses into that vertical development that we want to see. Certainly, DPW and GRTC are focused on delivering a quality transit hub as part of this overall project. And so they are both DPW and GRTC are our key partners on that GRTC transit hub. And then I'll talk a bit about the Greater Richmond Convention Center Authority as our partner on the work related to the Coliseum demolition, Convention Center, hotel, and parking. So I just wanted to give you sort of an overview of the assets that we have in the downtown area. It is a really pivotal number of assets. It's the type of thing that someone who does the work that I do loves to come into an area and see something that, particularly as city partners, we can get to control and get to catalyze what happens in this area. So I wanted to put this map up so that you could see sort of the adjacency of the Coliseum and therefore the Convention Center Hotel and Parking that will go up on that lot, and the GRTC hub and the closeness of these two major developments, and therefore the opportunity for these to be real catalysts for what happens in this area. One thing I will just mention is that I think before I came, there was a master plan for this area, an intention to kick off on something that would be sort of a master phase of development. And I want to assure everyone that that vision for City Center hasn't gone away. We are still following that vision, but what we're trying to do at this point with taking off some more bite-sized pieces of this is to be able to push out of the gate, get some catalytic developments going, and developments that will then sort of seed the rest of the rest of the vision here. So let me talk first about Coliseum activation. Again, this is something that we are very much approaching as a partnership between the city and the EDA on behalf of the city and the Convention Center Authority or GRECA. The focus, as I said, is on demolition and on getting that convention center hotel and parking out of the gate. And that is a super important project for us to be able to deliver in the short to medium term because we do know, and I believe Richmond Regional Tourism was before you all late last year, sort of presenting some of their data about the extent to which the city loses business, loses conventions and meetings because our lack of hotel capacity within walking distance of the Coliseum. So they estimate, and I know you all have seen this data before, that between 2019 and 2024, we lost 194 events that were worth over $257 million to the city. So I wanted to include that information because as I was sort of diving into this, you know, there seemed to be a need to refresh for folks what is the need for us to approach this project, and particularly to make sure that we get this piece of it out of the gate. Richmond Regional Tourism, I think in their presentation also just noted that, you know, that chief reason for our lack of competitiveness is too few rooms within a 10-minute walking distance to the convention center and too few rooms to do the type of room blocks that they need to do to sell major conventions and meetings, sell the city for major conventions and meetings. So as I indicated, our 2026 project goals are going to be to focus on those three pieces. And in order to do that, we are in the process of negotiating an MOU between the EDA and GRECA. This is really meant to just solidify our high-level partnership on this project, which is going to take us a number of years to complete. And so we want to make sure that we are clear between us as partners, what our roles and responsibilities are, and that we keep moving in a quick manner. We're going to focus on Coliseum demolition, as I indicated, and at the November GRECA meeting, they approved for a consultant to look into Coliseum demolition to include any environmental factors that should be considered. The fact that we want to demolish the Coliseum and preserve the integrity of the foundation so that we can have underground parking, to look into that issue, and finally to look into cost. So they have a consultant working on all of our behalf right now to look at these factors. We intend to work on this year and get to a viable financing strategy. So how much is Coliseum demolition going to cost? But then what is the financial strategy that we need to put together to make sure that we get to the vertical development and a successful financial strategy? I think what you heard or what I heard coming in was that particularly trying to bite off the whole of City Center at one time sort of resulted in a financial strategy that wasn't viable to kick into. And so that is another reason for us sort of taking this piece by piece. I'll talk a little bit about the GRTC Transit Hub activation. As I said, this is a partnership between the EDA and GRTC, which of course is a partner with DPW. It is anticipating the redevelopment of the former public safety building parcel. The intent is for this to be Transit Hub plus mixed-use development, 2 towers of mixed-use development. There is an active RFQ on the street right now to begin procuring or begin getting a developer to do this work on our behalf. Responses are due at the end of this month. That RFQ process will be followed by a formal RFP process. The vision for this, for the transit facility, 10 bus bays, a bus loop, also pedestrian and cyclist entrance to the transit hub. The mixed use vision, we are focused on, as it is the goal for the entirety of City Center, to make sure that we're maximizing the amount of land and development that then earns tax revenue for the city. And so we are focused on that for these 2 towers of residential and retail and other amenities. The work at the Coliseum plus the work that's happening with the GRTC hub is just part of this bigger vision for City Center. We, look at this as, that real estate development piece and the associated business investment pieces that come once we have new spaces for businesses to move into, is one piece of the picture. We have been looking at City Center as a corridor, City Center to Broad, particularly given the fact that part of the problem that we're trying to solve is how do we get people to move between these 2 very active bookends? We've got the convention center and this new real estate development that you're going to see on this end. On the other end is all of the activity as a result of VCU, as a result of the Arts District. And we want people to be moving in between those 2 bookends. We want people to be at the convention center and go to go to restaurants or go to small shops on Broad. That is the vision here. And so we've been looking at some of these other near-term activities to figure out how we also push it in that direction, not just to do the vertical development on this end, but how do we start to move people in the right direction? So we've got our BAP grant funded studies. Again, the BAP grant and our activities under it are led by Dirona Clark, but studying the Clay Street connection that is part of the overall vision, studying what happens with the courts buildings, but also if we go back to that map and all of those city-owned assets, determining what's the highest and best use of those city-owned assets that complements the full vision. We have also reconvened, if that's the right word, a Broad Street task force that is a mix of both internal and external partners. They're members of council that sit on the task force, but meant to sort of guide us as we push into this next layer of activation. We also have been participating in what's called the Bloomberg Innovation Cohort. So we have an interagency group of city employees who are representing Richmond. They are in this cohort with cities from around the world. Each city chose an issue that it wanted to address, and each city has put together these interdisciplinary teams to address these problems. And the problem Richmond indicated that it wanted to address was this corridor to determine how we get activation and how we get people moving along it. The last thing is an item that has most recently been before council, which is expansion of allowable activities under our CARE grant, particularly so that we can support interim activation efforts in corridors like City Center Broad, like Hull Street, like Shaco. There are a number of corridors in the city that we think could benefit from the types of activities that you see on the screen: better lighting, murals, wayfinding signage, pop-ups. And so the changes to the CARE grant are going to allow us to support those in some of these corridors. And with that, I will stop and take any questions you have.
Ms. Rogers, I'm going to move to the public hearing for the two papers, but I do have some questions in regards to the overall presentation as well. Madam Clerk, let's do the public hearing on these two papers.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of items 16 or 17? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of items 16 and 17? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Okay. So my question, Ms. Rogers, first of all, thank you. For the work that is being done, the progress that is in motion. The partnership certainly is good to have Greater Richmond Transit as a part of it as well, and to have the EDA as well as Greca there. So it gives it some regional flavor to it, both from the Greater Richmond Transit as well as Greca. We've been looking at this area, and I'm glad to see the assets that you've identified here. I think to make sure that we get the full benefit of the asset that the city has in this location, if there's a value that we can assign to this asset, as well as what type of investments that we have made in this area and what's the value there. I don't want to miss the opportunity for us to recognize the level of investment and the value of that investment that have been made in this area. As we move forward with the implementation of redeveloping this huge asset that we have in the center of the city that's been sitting like this for quite some time. I'm encouraged that the Greater Richmond Transit has been as successful, Ms. Carter, in the work that you all have been doing to be able to get to a place that we build a hub. We've been trying to do that for 20 years as well. And what has happened, and what I think is going to be important for us to monitor pretty closely as we go through this is, as you mentioned on your slide, having a viable financing strategy. I think we want to get a little bit more detailed information with that, so that we know what not only our partners are, but the level of investment that is being made by partners to satisfy the total $257 million that we're talking about, that has been lost because we have not had this place developed, and it goes beyond just a hotel. One of the greater concerns that I have, and I appreciate taking this step by step, or maybe as someone said earlier today, trying to take a bite of the elephant at a time, and rather than trying to eat the whole elephant at one time. We sometimes don't work out the fiscal needs in order to make this happen. And typically with this level of work and the infrastructure that's in this area, one of my greatest concern is the infrastructure, and whether or not the consultants that are working on putting together a financial package for us based on their assessments, I would really like to suggest to you that maybe at some frequency, if you give me a timeline of when you expect the consultant works to be done, so that we can follow it in the timeline sequence and make sure that we're taking care of those necessary things in that sequence, and have you to come back within those sequence once we get a schedule from you, detailed. I know it's estimated because everything is uncertain for sure, but certainly we have some idea when we want to get certain things back, and to coordinate that with the Greater Richmond Transit and the EDAs involved with that process as well. I would like for you to bring that schedule back to the committee, to council, so that we can follow along and realize that, if there are contingencies of things that come up that we didn't anticipate, we know about them at the time that they come up, and we make the right decisions at that time. This is an extremely valuable development opportunity for the city. We can't afford to be allowing, $257 million to be passed up. All of the other things that we want to do in the city. I want to hopefully soon be able to ask for us to do a logical projection of new revenue that we would generate for the city of Richmond through economic development, and then set that as goals with the opportunity for us to create the necessary projects to get us there. Our dependency on residential real estate taxes is non-competitive in the region, and this council are constantly attempting to right-size that rate And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is to increase our revenue flow from economic development. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity for us to pay close attention and work very cooperatively together to make that happen. So how strongly are you feeling at the present time with the partnership and with the availability of financing that is in place, moving forward? And how soon could you get us a project schedule
Mhm.
so that we can follow you as we go through the development?
So, to your first question, I will say this. There are um, significant resources on the table potentially through Greca. But we do need to get a handle on, I mean, no one's done a study yet of how much it's going to cost us to take down the Coliseum. We're talking about these infrastructure improvements, the Clay Street connections. These are the things that cost wise we have to get a handle on and figure out if we have enough resources on the table to be able to cover those things. And I want to say this. It's, I think, maybe unlike a standalone sort of infill project, we are going to see with this, because of the heavy investment needed in infrastructure, the things that we want to see in terms of public amenities attached to that convention center hotel, we are going to see, I think, investment up front, but then it's done. And the next projects that come along sort of don't have to bear that burden. In terms of sort of schedule for when we come back to talk about sort of when are we going to know these things, telling you what we've learned. Um, I would say if we could maybe look at maybe every other month or so. And I know you and I are planning to have sort of some more regular discussions in the interim. It's probably too much to talk about sort of coming before the committee every month to, sort of talk about the same issue. And you'll start to catch us in moments, where information isn't quite ready for public consumption, which, starts to get frustrating for everyone. But maybe if we can target sort of every other month to come back, and then the intervening months, we talk and we, figure out sort of what's the information that the committee wants to see. Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair Diana Moore Clark here, Deputy Director, Department of Public Works. A couple of notes, as a part of the Build America Bureau grant, the next step is valuation of the assets. And so we wanted to put those assets before you. We initially had 11 assets and we've moved up to 14. So we've really been able to move forward with that. And then the next steps are also looking at that financing as well as schedule. So to Director Rogers, coming back in March, a month, from now, would probably be a good place. We also have a couple of meetings planned where we may have some of our federal partners here that is supporting this effort, that we would reach out to this committee to please make yourselves available to attend so that you can really see some of the action underway. And then as far as the hub specifically, again, like Director Rogers said, January 31st, the RFQ will close. And so we'll get some of the interest. I think it was already over 100 developers interested in the parcel already. And so we're excited to move those steps forward as well. Thank you.
Appreciate the presentations. Thank you. Clerk. I don't see any other presentation. Is there anything staff wants to add to the meeting today?
How would y'all like to proceed with the papers? Did y'all have a motion and a second?
Hmm?
A motion?
Oh, we didn't?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry.
Motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
Thank you. The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 16, ordinance 2025-284, and item 17, ordinance 2025-285 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robertson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Ready. Okay. Staff, any additional comments?
Yes, ma'am, Chair Robertson. So there are a couple things that I think we still, or you all as the committee, still may wish to discuss. The first one I think was the possible change in the schedule during the budget work session season. It was my understanding that y'all had worked something out for that, but I thought there was supposed to be some commentary here on the record about the changes to that schedule. If not, I will just stand down from that. Hi.
Yes, RJ Warren, Council Chief of Staff. Since the committee is together here in this room, we thought we would just share with you all that when we proposed the budget review schedule, we have 2 budget work sessions scheduled for the 2 Finance Committee days in March and April. And in order for you to still have the desired presentations and what is anticipated as probably legislation heavy agendas, we would recommend to you all that you would reschedule the 2 finance meetings to the following day, to Thursdays. So the March one would move to March 19th from March 18th, and then the April one would go from April 15th to April 16th. So it would just move one day to the Thursday.
April
16th.
15th.
We'll go from the 15th to the 16th.
So the budget work sessions would be at 1 p.m. on those Wednesdays. So that would be Wednesday, March 18th, and tax day, Wednesday, April 15th, which means the suggestion is that the committee meet at its normal 2 p.m. time on Thursday, March 19th, and Thursday, April 16th. And my apologies for the record, Maria Garnett, Council Policy Analyst.
One second. Okay, it looks possible.
Okay,
All right.
we'll work with you.
So we will agree to move the Finance Committee meeting to the 19th of March and to the 16th of April.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The other thing that I wanted to just briefly give you the opportunity to kind of comment on here in the committee setting is for the benefit of the public, for all of the standing committees of council, council staff, and the administration staff have worked very collaboratively to develop a proposed presentation schedule, and for some months, a schedule of items to be submitted in writing to the committee for January through July of this year. I have included printouts of that draft schedule as agreed upon. And the other thing I'll note is that, as most of us are aware, the CAO's 100-day report did include several items of particular interest to this committee and others. And one of the things that we as staff are doing is examining how we can make sure to slot those things into this schedule as it is, knowing that you all, of course, still have the opportunity to ask those questions as you want to. So I was hoping that we could just get affirmation that this is the schedule we're working with so the clerk's office can be sure to fill that in for these meetings.
Ms. Jones, are you comfortable with the lineup that we have at the present time? Okay. Yes, okay. Subject to change as change may be needed, but yes. And I guess the other, the report that we got from Mr. O'Donnell, no, from OD Donald, in regards to the department's, the ordinance that council passed. Very interesting report. I think very strongly that we would like to have that presented, and maybe even at the next meeting of the ODE, we'll talk to the president about having that presented to us, because that is a significant dollar amount being proposed and or being requested. And I know that that's working documents. So, but I had want to add it onto this agenda today, but by the time we received it and trying to get that in, wasn't successful in doing that. But I think that's a ordinance that was passed by council, and I think we should take it up if we can in one of the committees coming up soon, hopefully before the March out, before our next council committee meeting.
Great. And for the record, Councilor or Chair Robertson is referring to the agency budget submission publication in accordance with legislation passed last year and sort of an initial report that the CAO provided. I'll also remind folks that per that legislation, the administration, when they produce the budget proposal on March 11th, will have to explain the differences.
Okay,
Great. Thank you.
all righty. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, is there any other items on the agenda that we've overlooked?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I appreciate your service and appreciate everyone that has come out to help us get through this meeting, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.